Chapter 3. The things you do out there behind drugs. This girl, Minnie Mouse, she's got a story. You need to put on a welder's mask to hear it. I'm 19 months and 1 day clean, she says. Hep C climbed all up inside me and ate its way out. Bug, too. I'm on the list, though. I'm on that great big liver list in the sky. Liver list. I'm alive, all right. I'm a liver of life who needs a liver to keep living it. Anybody looking to get rid of one? Hit me up. Oh, hell no. Not one of you peaked motherfuckers. I'll take my chances. Minnie's got 19 months and 1 day. And it's that 1 day you keep living over and over again. Just that one Groundhog Day until you're all out of days. They go like Kleenex. Life is fast, said Minnie Mouse. Goes by like a cap whizzing past your head. I wish I could fuck with time. Slow it down. Run it backwards. I wish I could stop and smell those roses. Shit. I wish I was Gwyneth Paltrow from Shakespeare in Love. Did you hear the one about the two bears walking down the street and one says to the other one, I barely knew you? Well, I barely knew you. Sometimes I think about the things I did. I know I spread that bug around to 14 tricks, maybe 15. I got an angel of death thing for sure. My sponsor calls it payback. Like that EPMD song. But for what, I want to know? I still can't get to that. It's a blank. The bottom of an ocean. I know I'll burn for it, though. Those 14. Those 15. It made me feel, for a little while, more alive. I did other things, too. Worse things. There is this thing the sun does once a year, said Bam Bam. It sinks right down between the buildings on the west side of this island. And if you stand on any cross street, you can witness its passing fully away, as if the whole city was designed for this. As if the sun was made to fit right there in that slot at the far end of 42nd Street. I watched B-Girl's dog drown in the Varick Street pool, said Squeegee. The dog slipped in, and the pool was just deep enough, and the sides high enough. The dog could not climb out, and I sat there, on the fire escape, just watching watching that dog drown. It wanted to live very badly, I can tell you that. Very, very badly. It wanted to live. Some special aria made out of shrieks and moaning rose up to meet me and tell me this. I want to live. And I just sat there, tightening and loosening my belt around my wrist, launching myself into moonshot after moonshot, feeling more fully alive than I have ever felt before or since. Watching this dog work its toenails against the slick sides of that pool, fast as a buzzsaw at first, identical to every housefly you've ever seen in every sink full of dishwater, then thrashing in fits with little breathers in between, then lazier and less often, and then hardly at all, until the dog just sort of capsized or whatever, and was calm there, turning like on a slow rotisserie, over and then right again on the surface, weightless and serene and emptied out of its dog's life. So I ran a personal ad in the back of the Voice, said Bam Bam. Handsome smear of a face, usually stoned. Forget the eyes. Nobody home. Ex-dancer's body. Serviceable ass. Swollen dong hung down in lonesomeness. All sugar daddies, mommies, whatever. You better be rich. My time here is super limited, meaning valuable. Think of me as that trip to Vegas you couldn't afford, but you flew there anyway and lost everything. This is not a pipe and we are not dealers. Go zero. We just happen to divert pharmaceuticals and sell them at a high markup. A 4 milligram Dilaudid goes for $40 or $10 a milligram. Now that's a little pricier than your Hell's Kitchen D's, but it comes with a comfy place to fix, and any esteemed shooting gallery will run you about 5 or 10 just to get through the doorless doorway. The cocaine base we cook down into smokable rock in our kitchenette, it's about $10 for a sliver the size of your little toenail, if you still have a little toenail. Some people don't. This is not an apple, said the painter Magritte. And we are not thieves. We just have this way of appropriating and redistributing found objects at a premium. Books, clothes, VCRs, that Gucci bag over there, that Jean-Paul Gaultier, whatever's not nailed down, and some things that are. Nailed down, I mean. And there are many other things we are not, me and blank. We are not dope fiends. Not like one would think of when they say, there goes a dope fiend. We shoot a lot of drugs, yes we do. But we have long ago stopped feeling them. Which is to say, we have graduated out of identifying ourselves as dope fiends. This is our aquarium, and drugs are the water. A fish doesn't go around all the time saying, Look at me, I'm in the water. She just swims. You watch her swim and you don't even see the water. If Magritte was here and he painted our portrait, he'd say, they are not dealers, thieves, junkies, whores, liars, worse than hyenas. No, he'd dare anyone to prove otherwise. Then Magritte would paint himself an exit and run like hell through it. It's a very elastic thing, really. You start some kid out young. You can train them to take things into it. A finger, then two, then three. A Barbie doll, a broomstick, a burning candle, a cut or uncut penis of almost any dimension. It's about acceptance. It must be taught acceptance. When that kid grows up, she moves through the world sideways like a coyote that's been shot with a nail gun. Always looking behind her with one eye and ahead of her with the other. But she gives off the scent of the wounded and that draws the wolves in close around her. The human jaw in a 12-year-old girl can be trained to unhook from its hinges and expand like a python, to accept all kinds of traffic and commerce. Have you met my friend, Uncle Dale? He's a real good friend, and he'd like to be your best friend, too. Go back in the back there with him, and you'll make friends like I showed you. Like you did with me. Don't you want to have lots of friends, P? The girl in this case is called Promise. She was always hearing and saying, I promise, I promise. If you talk back, I swear I'll stuff you in a microwave. I promise. A little girl's jaw can take a ton of wear and tear. The bones are still green and not quite joined yet, like the top of a baby's head. I'll cut your nose off and feed it to the chickens if you breathe a word. I promise. When Promise grows up, she makes a deal with her feet to follow them as far and as fast as they can run, but they don't know how to run. They stumble around like they belong to a stunned calf at a slaughterhouse. They lead her into the same situations again and again, as if they were escaped prisoners homesick for the jailhouse. One thing about Promise is, her head's like a record player, with the needle stuck on the same grooves. She plays back certain days over and over, as if she could get them right this time. Only the worst days get played back in the rooms. She can't remember the days in between. I was 14, but Mr. made me younger, keeping me always on strict diets and squeezing me into old outfits from 3 years ago. The black and white of the saddle shoes I wore when I was 12. It was also in the sound of the shoes, the sound of my exact weight in the tight little shoes, kicking across the drywall or running clip-clap across the linoleum, clip-clap. Mr. did something to the windows, and it made the place feel like that day after Christmas year-round. He spray frosted the glass to soften the incoming light and keep out spying eyes that may or may not float by. And he was always cooking in that little sink, but we never seemed to eat. Outside there was zero in the way of mountains or hills. But if there were mountains, these would be blurred from view looking out from the trailer and denied a view looking back into the trailer. The ground did things to me when I caught a flash of it through the open door, which was always opened and shut very quickly with a sucking sound, as if to keep the stale, heated air always inside and the chill, fresh air outside. It was like our lives together were contained in the indoors air, in the hospital cooking smells and the aftertaste of Glade, mixed up with shit from the doorless toilet we both shared. This island is a giant amusement park full of dangerous rides, goes Bam Bam. You steal a car, let's say, and you jump on the FDR. You shoot uptown around and down the other side along the river down to Springs, say. Then you jump off and you dump that car in the tall weeds with the other dead things. That's one ride. Maybe you need a very young girl or a boy or both together wrapped tight around you like a human shawl. We have that too. That's another ride. I know someone who knows someone. What about tall buildings to swan dive from? Lots of those rides. You can make that jump your last ride, if that's what you come here for. Stuff that might rock your world in the morning falls off the baby laxative in the afternoon, said Gigi. Other side of that coin? The same stuff that bubbled up like lava in your cooker might lay you out on a slab that same night. It's not like a shelf at A&P where you can depend on your trusted brands. Your trusted brands are being cloned now by stray dealers run off from more legit crews. And this is why a couple years back, the bigger dope houses started marking their bags with custom stamps which only they have a lock on, see? They had these stamps made just for them. Impossible to duplicate. One of my favorites was the toilet stamp. It was a logo of a little toilet with a lid yawning open. That's all it really was, but impossible to fake, see? Before custom stamps, everything out there was marked with a little sliver of colored tape on the bag. White, red, green, blue, even clear Scotch tape. And later on the black tape. But these were way too easy to counterfeit, see? I mean, any low-down Hebrew can throw some meat tenderizer in a glassine bag and slap a little colored tape on it. After a while, things got so bad it was killing, and I do mean killing, everyone's business. So some enterprising thug came up with a rubber stamp routine. Now all the real crews use stamps. Everywhere but 8th Street between C and D. There you can still find the colored tape, because the Santayanas run that whole block and nobody dares go up against the Santayanas. One time, and you didn't hear it from me. They found some off-brand runners spread out 4 ways and nailed to the floorboards in one of those 8th Street squats. Someone had crucified him. The world is made up of hustlers and tricks, said Bam Bam. I can't prove this, but I believe every one of us is born one way or the other. A trick is anyone you can take money from or some kind of advantage of while giving back as little as possible. That last bit is the golden part of the rule. You give back nothing, but your real talent, the thing they pay for, is making them feel like you're giving them everything. A hustler preys on a trick's need to be hustled. It has always been that way. Ever since the first trick went looking for the first hustle. You see, the trick does most of the work for you. And if you're any good at all at what you do, they never even know it. And they come back to you again and again to pay and pay for more and more. Because enough is what they really want. And enough is what you never give them. Look, I don't know a single chicken out here who's not a stone-cold dope fiend. It's just like that, it is. We shoot a lot of drugs, we do. It's just like that. The sun comes up, goes down. The moon does its thing. It goes from new to full to a little tiny thumbnail. On these things you can depend, and we shoot a lot of drugs, yes we do. Don't ask why. Someone once asked the Ramones why they are called Ramones. Because it is a beautiful name, said one or the other of them. That's all. Anyway, most of us like girls. And we carry the stink of them around on us all the time, which drives the tricks up the wall, They love that. It's as old as humans walking upright. Little boy even married one. A real girl, I mean. Then he shot her in the face, but that wasn't anything personal. And it had nothing to do with her being a girl. Little boy's just very high-strung is all. He's very touchy. All you need to know about little boy is that he is a long, long way from little. And he is not a boy anymore. He's all grown up now. Trust me. So last summer we had a scam going, said Gigi, where we'd set up off Essex around Delancey, wait for the morning call to ring out for the black tape. Then a big swarm of fiends would start to move along the corridor there, between the brick face and the curb. And we'd sort of funnel them into a single file, sounding very official, very sure of ourselves about what was going down. Coke and dope, Poppy. Black tape. Open and smoking. Have your money out straight. Keep it moving. Like that, Waving them across the park to a hole in the wall. It was just, a fucking hole in the wall. And this was good for one quick pass. And then we'd yell, Hondo! And we'd run for the turnstiles and regroup way uptown. We could do 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 in 15 minutes. But then you had to kiss that corner goodbye for several weeks or months until the scene shifted elsewhere. This was one of Mickey P's scams. And of course he overplayed it, and he wound up in Beth Israel with 2 home runs for knees. Too much of a good thing is not always, a good thing. The bathroom was full of people, said Felony. Felony's amped up on something they've been giving her in detox, and she's going off like a headless chicken. I mean, it was always full of people because there's a sink and a toilet in there, which make up the 2 most useful appliances if you're injecting heroin and cocaine cocktails into your neck. The sink is for drawing fresh New York City tap water to use in your shot. The finest tap water in the country, so they say. And the toilet is for puking your insides out when the shot slam dunks your amygdala. Or vice versa. You could draw water from the toilet and spill your guts out in the sink. People do that too. I've done that myself. Don't ask why. Never ask why. I think in my case it was because the toilet looked cleaner than the sink that night. But the bathroom was also full of people, as in People magazine. Glee loved People magazine. She loved People, as in the magazine, as much as I love reruns of Mary Hartman. People is full of bright, hopeful faces doing bright, hopeful things, mostly under a California sun that shines benevolently 24/7. Think about Goldie Hawn. If you're crouching dope sick, giving birth over a lidless toilet with the Holy Spirit fast leaking out of you. The name Goldie Hawn all by itself might give you the spark of will you need to make it through the night. Did you ever see her in Cactus Flower? She brought home an Oscar for Cactus Flower. She's a tiny golden blonde thing, and that Oscar was so heavy, she had to drag it home in a wheelbarrow. And what about Shampoo? The movie Shampoo? She stole the movie is what they call it. Whenever she was on screen, you couldn't tear your eyes away from her tiny, bubbly goldiness. I could go on and on about Goldie Hawn, but I think the results are in. So Glee would watch Goldie in anything. And while we're at it, think about People's 25 most intriguing people of the year. I don't even want to get into the 100 most beautiful people. Think about those 25 most intriguing people. They speak for themselves because they were selected out of many millions of other people. They were selected over me and you. They take up whole pages, those people. Or at least half pages. What does that tell you? Life is full of suntans and blondes and hope and shimmering, shivering palm trees and marriages with perfect children that last into all eternity. Sure, we didn't make the cut that year before of the 25 most intriguing or the 100 most beautiful, but this was a brand new year, and we were not even halfway through it yet. There was still time for us to make the cut, to make it into one of those lists. When Glee was soaring high enough on the rock with a nice chaser of really good dope swimming around through her veins, she would have this St. Teresa vision that one of us, or both of us, because sometimes it's a really beautiful or intriguing couple that makes the list. She'd have this vision that we might make it into People magazine together. And that last night she let go a cloud of white vapor. And the light fell all around her. And she said unto me, she said, felony. She said she was sure. She said she was sure that we would be the first couple to ever make both lists in the same People magazine in the same year. It's early yet, she said unto me. It is so early. The triple ecstasy is where you land when the strip is dead and your regulars are off being irregular, said Bam Bam. Bam Bam talks a lot about the life. He says he wants to get up out of it, but the money's way too good right now, and quote, what else is a boy to do? If you know the code, they buzz you in backstage and you stand idle there like horses until safety pin swishes down the line, going, you, not you. Safety pin wears one through his nose and refuses to believe this is not still 1979. So whoever you and you are will stick around and do 5 minutes at the end of every hour for 5 hours. Right after the superstar dancers and the fake live sex show. The live sex is real enough, but the part about loving it is all put on, let me tell you. You, and you are bait, really. There's a giant vat of rancid Vaseline in the back room, and just before you go on stage, you all dip into it and grease yourselves up to half-mast. Sometimes just to kill the boredom. One you helps another you get there with his mouth. Let me tell you, this shit right here, this is something outside top or bottom or sometimes or never or always or used to be. This shit right here is something all its own without a name yet. So the lights go down, then up, and you move out under them like cracked figurines on a cuckoo clock. You dangle out there for that 5 minutes after the crowd. What there is of them is all aimled up. Sometimes a fish bites, and you goes off into a stall somewhere with the fish. Subtract another 10 minutes tops from your valuable time here on Earth. End of the night, you're out 5 hours and change. But you only had to look involved for 25, 35 minutes tops. No pun intended. Depending on the fish, we walk away with the usual $50 plus whatever the fish coughs up. No accident at all that 5 hours happens to be about the max any of us can go without a shot of something. No accident at all. Let me tell you. I wish you could see us all tied up like one body, said Zero. My arms end where hers begin. What we have done to them this spring spills over from one to the other. My bruise is her bruise. A scab forms made out of my blood on her face. We roll in each other's smell and carry the stench around in our clothes. The light loves us. The room loves us. The floor holds us hard against it and is glad to be a floor. I run the camcorder over her body, which looks like mine except for the burn necklace and the bruises. There's a fresh crop of something blooming down the left side of Blank's chin, and she is nothing if not skilled at hiding these outbreaks with just the right makeup. But still there is the raised ridge of these little blisters for anyone with eyes for this kind of thing. When her legs are open, I can meditate on the tight little slit between them. It seems to smirk at me, aware of its own power and history. I can carry on a conversation with it if I want. Imagine the lips yawning and speaking back to me. On a vacant afternoon, I once shot Little Boy fucking her like a dutiful wind-up toy. Little Boy who prefers boys. Bored as me and her. Opening her up like a shellfish. Sucked into that shallow grave. Me directing the movie. Debonair has this switch inside him. He can come on all mad dog and put the fear into you, then withhold the violence, leaving you in a kind of reprieve situation with him. For a little while, a bitch think her ass is made out of solid gold. She really believes this. She's overcome with her damn self. Then let her get busy using that ass for a while. Selling off a taste to whoever want a taste. Then the glitter starts to rub off and she sees maybe that ass is only gold-plated. Then after a little more wear and tear, the bitch find out it wasn't gold at all. It was just spray painted to look that way in a certain light. And lo and behold, that gold paint is all chipped and flaked off. Now what she got? A worn-out ass everybody done had a taste of. A worn-out ass in bad need of a paint job. Deb goes on and on about how many times he's been shot. Hauls up his hoodie to show off a thick scar where his kidney used to live. He drops his sweats to display the tracks around his groin, unveiling 2 more bullet holes strafing his black thighs. Depending on what kind of day it is, he's been shot 3 times, 5 times, 8 times. It's hard to imagine more shots than there are holes in a person, but who are we to disagree? Debonair's prick looks dormant and peaceful, like a freshly hatched bird with a little blue head for some reason, snuggled down to sleep in its own little nest of steel wool. And with his sweats peeled down now, there is, of course, that Romano cheese smell. We all have it. It is the smell of unwashed crack and irredeemable crotch rot, mixed with the special kind of sweat we people sweat who shoot a lot of drugs. I see the girls come and go. I see them walk and crawl. The fresh ones come out of the South or Midwest. Stunned calves gone down a chute. Euphoric and terrified at first, then less so. A year is a decade out there. A generation. Some last the turning of a single trick or fall into it for a summer and then move on. Others seem born to the life with affectless precision. Slapstick, seductive, cruel, mongoose-faced femme caricatures of who they used to be or wanted to be or never were. Somebody's living blow-up doll or urinal for 15 minutes. Superstarred in basements by pimps for a day, by brothers or stepdads or all on their own. Self-actualized prodigies at selling, withholding themselves. Everybody starts out in their own little never land, says Limbo. She's just come back in after a meth run, and she has that mongoose look. Her eyes pop out of her blue-black face like a squeeze toy. Shit. Don't never say never, you hear me? But never's a word we bat around in here like a tetherball. We huddle together in parked cars, in Denny's and IHOPs and anywhere open 24 hours. We hang in the lobbies of buildings not one of us lives in. The Lysol kind with eviscerated couches and zebra-skin chairs and carpet that will make you see stigmata swirling in it. A meeting's a meeting, but meetings end, and we float along shipwrecked before and after, all laced together to keep from drowning. People drift in and drift out of the circle, and we memorize names and phone numbers and might as well burn these immediately like Mission Impossible. We know way, way too much about each other and not enough, and soon get around to fucking each other's brains out like we're applying bad CPR. But there's nothing like love in it. More like a holding action against the huge silence that seems to stalk all of us around now. We belong to each other like those people who come back to Earth telling alien abduction stories. After a while, it doesn't do any good to lie because our lies all strung together would stretch around the world 5 times in a human daisy chain. And they don't add up to the way it really was. The girl in Denny's booth number 1 sold her baby to a meth cook's wife just to get a running discount. And because it's so much trouble, you know, feeding them and everything. She'd have another one now to make up the difference, but there's no more working plumbing down there inside her. And it's so much trouble, you know. Dax over there in booth 9 is called Igor ever since his stroke, which he is careful to call a stroke-like incident. He had the incident after he got spick and span clean from drugs. And of course he thinks there's been some kind of big mistake. How could he spend 2/3 of his short life like a death-defying carnival act? The kind you'd pay admission to watch do things with a blowtorch and a glass stem. How could he come through all that and out the other side and then have this incident while he's living clean as a motherfucker? There's been some kind of mix-up, that's all. And they are going to figure it out soon. Igor drags his left foot behind him now, and his left hand's all curled up into his sleeve like those witches' feet under that falling house. We keep reciting our backstories to each other, and polishing them until they shine with obscenity and wonder. Until we can tell each other's tales as well as our own, and they all become one big fish story. Igor is the grown-up son of the girl in booth number 1, and the meth cook's wife is a stand-in for his girlfriend who did that awful thing with the microwave and went away upstate forever for it. They don't put hospital ID bracelets on our stories, just on us. And even those they get wrong sometimes. I once woke up under a sheet at St. Vincent's with a John Doe bracelet and a matching toe tag that said drawer number 39. But now that I think about it, that might have been this freckled kid at the end of the counter we call the Human Torch.